Good morning and welcome to the channel on this lovely, beautiful, glorious day in November here in sunny Somerset. My name's Georgie Newbery. I'm a flower farmer and florist based here at Common Farm Flowers between fashionable Bruton and up-and-coming Wincanton, and it has been bucketing with rain. The weather is apocalyptic in 10-minute bursts. So I'm rushing out to cut willow. And as you can see, this lovely bright orange colour here is some of our willow crop. And this year, instead of making hundreds of wreaths myself, because there's so much going on, I've sold my willow crop. And so most of it is going up to London town tomorrow. Well, not most of it, but a great chunk of it. It's going up to London town tomorrow, where Petersham nurseries are making 100% biodegradable wreaths. Well done, Petersham nurseries. Setting a trend, setting an example to us all. Because obviously, let's not make Christmas an opportunity to destroy the planet with plastic and wire and rubbish. Let's take all these winter festivals back to a time when they were celebrated with fresh material from outside and didn't kill the planet. So I'm cutting willow this morning. I'm glad to say that the weather is less windy. If you saw my previous clip, I was up in Leeds day before yesterday with Rebecca of Silver Grey Foliage, who's got a fantastic urban flower farm on half an acre just outside Leeds, literally on the ring road, and her backyard, her garden is a mini version. It's very clever, so do have a look there. And often flower farmers ask me, so what do you do in the winter? Good question. Well, in my case, foliage and willow. Willow grows very well in Somerset. Obviously, if you're on free draining chalk, this might not be a great crop for you, but for us, it works very nicely. So I'm going to go snipping. Now, before I snip, remember, I'm snipping using a slightly unusual tool for me. These are Newbery, and they're really nice, very, very sharp, strong. I use them instead of secateurs. Secateurs are too crunchy on my hands. I'm an old lady of 55, and I've been doing gardening and floristry and growing flowers for many years, and so my hands are feeling it slightly. So these, they are not sprung in any way, but they're really nice to cut with. So this is what I use to cut my willow. Let's go cutting. Do you want to come with me? Shall I just pick you up and carry you along? Look, hello. Take you down here. And you'll see where I've been cutting already, because there's always some project or other going on here. So this side has already had a hack, but look at that lovely colour. This bright orange is Salix alba, the old white willow, and alba obviously is white. So it's quite odd that white willow should be so fiery, should be fiery willow. Anyway, I'm going to cut some of this and I'll show you how I bind it all up, ready to take to London. It's willow, sorry, I'm really going to bang on now. Willow is a fantastic plant to grow for the wildlife in your garden, if you can. It recolonised the British Isles at the same time as the oak, at the end of when the last ice age receded 10,000 years ago. Willow and oak recolonised the British Isles at about the same time. Sorry, I'm frowning into the sun here. And as a result, 10,000 years, a great many insects and birds use it as a place to live. And you can see, I'm always saying this on these clips, so apologies if you've seen it before, but where we have pollarded the willow over years and years, we've made a sort of ball, a ball of where the pollard has happened, which means that there's an enormous amount of nooks and crannies which in the winter fill up with beetles and aphids, and it's a huge larder for the birds. And I see the wrens, little tiny, look up a wren if you don't know what a wren looks like. If you know what a wren looks like, you'll know why it's my favourite bird. But if you don't, look up a wren. They're little tiny brown, very bossy birds that you see a lot in the winter, and they may be small, but their Latin name is mighty. They are troglodytes, and they fight hard with the goldfinch to be my favourite bird. Anyway, to watch the wrens working these pollard willow gives me enormous pleasure, and is one of the reasons we keep the willow. So we don't just keep the willow because I can sell the stems to make money. We keep the willow so that there's somewhere for the birds to feed in the winter, and we're all happy. Right, I'm gonna cut some. Right, now you can see with this lovely bright orange that there is a certain amount of side growth, the side shoots here. And for my friend Tom Broom Hughes at Petersham Nurseries, these will probably be used as Christmas decorations just individually. I'm selling them to him as part of the willow order, but I bet you he looks at them and goes, ooh, I'm not turning those into wreath bases, I'll keep them. You don't have to have a especially thick willow when you're cutting it, when you're harvesting it, but that's no good because it's been cut off before. But if you find this is probably a good thickness compared to my thumb. I need to get out of the light. Something's in the way. So there's my thumb, and there's the thickness. It's not as thick as my thumb, probably as thick as my finger. That's a good thickness. And the bifurcation, there's a word, which means the side shoots coming off, will make this more difficult to turn into a perfect circle. But if you have patience, then when you do turn it into a perfect circle, what I do is I have my a more bendy willow, like my pussy willow, and I'll make a basic circle with that, and then I will use these as the finishing touches to give my willow wreaths a sort of flash of colour on the outside. I think Tom is planning to just make wreath bases and then moss them all for that smart London market, which likes something quite luxurious looking. So I'm just going to take off the sides. We had those two bits I snipped off were dried up dead bits, but I'm going to keep the rest of this because, except for this one that's been snapped off, because I bet you there are people in London town who would like to use this to make a Christmas tree. So I'm giving my client lots of options. I'm a great believer in charging properly, and then I can afford to be generous. As a flower farmer, I think that's really important. You can see that some of the leaves are still on the tree. We had a sharp frost on Friday, and we've had quite a lot of rain, which has taken a lot of the leaves off, but there's still some there. But you can feel when I just run my hand along, I'm not pushing them. They're coming off very easily. You don't want to harvest, I don't think. We don't harvest our willow until really towards the end of November, because we don't want the sap to be rising. I don't want to kill my willow. I know that there are willow growers out there who'd be going, don't be ridiculous, you can harvest them much earlier. And I'm sure you can. But anyway, this is how we do it. It suits us. But there you are. That's lovely, bright orange. So I'm going to cut in 50s and show you how I'm going to get the rest onto my car for tomorrow. These two stems are too thick. Look, compared to my thumb. Making sure my microphone's still on. These two stems are too thick. They're about my thumb's width. So I'm going to cut them down and I'll strike them in the ground and make more trees. And the level I will strike them is about 3 feet. So about here. And for making new trees, I will sharpen this end. So this is the striking end. I'll take off all the side shoots. And here in Somerset, we're obviously the summer is quite dry. This year was very dry. But generally, willow does very well. The ground is good and damp. Willow likes it wet. So there's a new tree. And some people order stakes like this from us to plant to make new trees. We have them available locally only, please. I can't send them to America or even Lincolnshire. We're not sending anything far away anymore. We used to, but we don't anymore. But there you have a nice tree for staking, for striking. I'll make the point at the top as sharp as I can, because when it rains onto that point, the rain will then run off. It won't sit on a flat surface and rot the tree. But I will just drive the stake into the ground as deep as I can make it. So probably a good foot. And that's, put it somewhere you don't mind it growing. I mean, and whatever you do, don't plant it over a pipe, drain pipes coming from your house near your septic tank because it'll send its roots to get the water. Don't put it near your brand new, quite small pond. It'll drink all the water. But nice damp ground, and that will root and grow into a new tree. So I'm going to keep this to one side and plant it later. So this is a bundle of 50, and I'm going to go and tie them up, make them look attractive. After all, I'm taking them to one of the smartest plant nurseries in the whole of the UK, Petersham nurseries. So I'm going to tie them up, make them look nice, and I'll show you what they all look like. Come along with me. The order is for 400, and you can see all the different colours. I've put in a bundle of extras. These are extras because they're little. So these can be used as bindings or just different extra bits. But you can see the amazing colour in the different kinds of withies that there are. That lovely dark red. And then there are the orange that I've just cut. And we're tying them really nicely because this may be a wholesale order, but we may as well do it nicely. So this is useful, reusable jute string tied very tightly. And so when they arrive at Petersham, if they are just leaned against a wall, they'll look attractive. I think it's really important that you make things look their best by tying them up nicely like this, because we are not, well, none of us growing flowers or greenery or whatever we're growing for sale in an artisan way, in an eco way. None of us are growing vast quantities that are harvested by machine. None of us. And so it is important, I think, to keep that finish of, you know, you wouldn't make an artisan loaf of bread and put it in a plastic bag. And for the same reason, I'm not going to cut artisan quantities of willow and wrap it up with plastic. It just doesn't seem to make sense. And because they're so attractive, I anticipate that they will be leaned against a wall at Petersham. I also know my customer, they haven't got vast amounts of room. Petersham Nurseries is on a tiny site, just near Richmond, in West London. And so they haven't got room to shove everything in a warehouse and process things there. It all happens there on this lovely tiny site. And so it needs to look attractive so that it can be stored in full view while it's being processed. I think it's very important to think about that if you're growing anything for sale. Think about what your customer's going to do with it. Think about how it's going to look for your customer. Make it easy for your customer to really enjoy it, and then they'll come back and order more, I hope. Anyway, lecture over. I better get tying up those lovely, and I need to cut another 50, so getting on. And as the sun heads towards the autumn evening, here's Fabrizio, just binding the last couple of bundles, ready for putting in the car, and delivering to London town as fresh, I think you'll agree, as a daisy. And here they all are, laid in the car. Look at that colour. Isn't that fantastic? And long ends can just be tucked around because it's willow, so it's very bendy. But whoa, how's that for colour? Ready to set off for London town. Right, it's the end of the day and I'm just walking the dog up the lane in the village. And I just want to say thanks very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this clip, please do subscribe to the channel. Press the bell icon and we'll tell you when we've got more clips coming out. And if any of the tips and tricks I give you along the way are helpful, you can always buy me a coffee. The link to coffee buying is in the blurb to all my clips. Thanks very much for coming along, and I'll see you soon. Right, going home for supper and then up early tomorrow to drive to London. And I may sneak in, while I'm up there, another Flower Farmer on Tour clip as I go.